All right, with another back that can't speak. We're back with another week of Ask Jose Q&A. How you been, Jose, this week?
I'm great, buddy. I'm training like a beast and eating good, feeling good, living the dream.
You're really up another, we've trained together the last couple years, and since you're kind of, I don't want to say making a run at it, but really, seeing what you got to maybe have a comeback, you're in another gear that you haven't been in the last couple of years, right? Close grip benching 405, benching 405, squatting some heavy weight. Like I could kind of hang with you on most of the stuff that we've done over the last year. Yeah. And then in the last month or so, you left me way behind on the big lifts.
Yeah, well, it's all part of trying to grow. My calories are up, my weights are up. I built the physique I had off of heavy weights and heavy training, and I'm sort of limited to a degree. I can't free bar squat 500 or 600 pounds anymore, but I can get on that Smith machine and push. And each week I'm pushing the boundaries of what I can do. And, that's the only way I'm going to come back to life and see what I'm capable of. I can't be the Boston Mass and come back with no mass. I got to be big, especially if I want to compete. And the term compete insinuates that I intend to be competitive. I don't want to come back and look like an idiot. So I'm training hard. I'm every day my body's changing. I'm getting fuller, rounder, harder. And that's what I want to see. And I have, I say about another 8 weeks of growing, of getting back to looking the way I'm capable of looking. And then I'll probably end up making a last minute decision of a show to jump into. So I'm preparing, and I'll be dieting and doing cardio and getting in striking distance, and then I'll pick something. So that's where we're at. The weights are going up, and you'll be going up too. I know you're going to be well over 230 soon.
Right now I'm waking up at 2:30 first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Which means you
225 for a while.
Yeah, so we may even hit 240 soon.
Yep.
Which is all new territory. So that's great stuff. We're on a good roll. Things are moving. The gyms are opening, the restaurants are opening, and life is opening again. And that reminds me of someone wrote a comment on our last training video, and a few times people have commented. This particular fella, who goes under the screen name of Cock Lover, which goes by no surprise, he was complaining that I had a mask on and you didn't, or you did and I didn't. Yeah. And first of all, Nate and I have been going to gyms and training together within inches of each other for the last 3 years consistently. So if he's got something, I probably do too. But luckily neither of us have. And we're pretty cautious of not making out in the middle of a set or anything like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, Cock Lover, but we don't do that. We're just training partners. But here's the thing. We have to. People, why are you wearing these masks? Well, we can't enter a building in Massachusetts without the mask on. We don't want the mask. We don't want it any more than you do. But we cannot enter a building of any sort, any restaurant, any convenience store, any grocery store, any gym without a mask on. So we wear the mask. If we're not near anybody else, in the video we just shot the other day, we were the only people in the gym. It was the two of us in this small gym. So no, there was no masks. That's the nature of it. It's a law here. I don't know where you're from, but here we cannot live any semblance of a normal life without a mask.
And it's out of respect for these gym owners too, right? You get like Scott at General Fitness, who's been absolutely awesome to us. the last thing we want to do is go into his gym and be like, well, it's Jose Raymond and Nate, and we're going to be filming and we're not wearing masks because we're special. And then this video gets out and he gets a fine, or the health department starts cracking down on him, right? It's like,
Right.
out of respect to him, you want to do what's right for the gym owner, because, you know, he's got to enforce these rules. He has no choice. Otherwise he gets shut down. So for a lot of this too, we're all in a position where it's annoying, you know, especially while working out. It's difficult. It's very, very challenging when you have legs to wear a mask. But man, we get to train. You know, it's like my friends out in California, their gyms are just slowly starting to open up. 10% capacity, right? 10% capacity. That's it, right? Once it hits 10%, there's a line out the door. So man, I'll take what we have out here, you know, having to just be uncomfortable and a little out of breath, but still gyms to train in. You know, it always annoys me too, since we started this channel, the videos, and we've had comments at day one, you know, right, working out with Evan, or and it was maybe these people are in other countries where they have different rules, but what sucks with a lot of this stuff is like we're following the rules, so we can just go in and get a workout for the sake of these gym owners that are being very hospitable to us. Last thing we want to do is get them in trouble. Right. But it's so politicized, right? It's like you're in team A or team B, wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, and it just sucks, especially with what we're trying to do. Like, we're not trying to get into that. We're just trying to film our workouts, and that's a condition of working out in these gyms.
That's it. Simple as that. So I hope that answers your question. The other question I had was, am I content with retirement? Am I content since retiring? And some people will take my answer as a weak-minded person or maybe mentally ill. But I lived more than half of my life competing. You know, I started competing at 18 years old, and I know no other life. So yeah, there's going to be a time when I can't train the way I'm training. I can't focus on a competition. In the last 2 years, I haven't been able to compete. I had to retire due to injury, not by choice. And now that things are feeling better, yeah, I have the bug. I want to. My life was always more under control, more organized, more orderly, and more successful when I'm competing. So yeah, I'm not content not competing, because I feel like there's something missing. I feel like I'm a lack of order in my life, and bodybuilding competition brings that to me. So that is a lot of the reason why I want to compete. I want to have another goal, something to strive for. Are the days of dreaming of winning the Mr. Olympia, are those over? Probably. But I can dream of being my best. I can dream of maybe being better than the last time I was on stage, and taking the steps to do so. You know, I don't know where I would place. I don't know how I would do against the best of the best. You know, these guys are getting better every day as I'm getting older. So the likelihood of me beating a Keon or Clarita or anything like that is probably far-fetched. But, you know, it would be wonderful to get a call out next to one of these guys, or George or any one of those guys, or even my old friend Guy. I would love to get on stage one more time with Guy. You know, we competed against each other.
The nationals,
yeah, since 2007. You know, I love the guy, and it's just a camaraderie that you don't have, and very few people get to experience it. So I would love to be able to get to do that again. So when people, you know, a lot of people make stupid comments. You have an ugly physique. You were never aesthetic. You suck. Listen, you're not going to tell me anything I don't know. I've lived bodybuilding my whole life. I can analyze any physique, especially my own. I know I don't have a pretty physique, but guess what? I won 13 professional shows. So I did something right. And, I know where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are. And, I would love to get another opportunity to do it. So that's the answer to that question. No, I'm not content. I don't think I'll ever be content. When you're content, you're dead. You're going to stop moving backwards. I want to always try to strive to be better at something. So
it makes sense. Like, 'cause, you had to retire because you felt like you were no longer capable, right, of hanging with the best.
yeah.
And then after your hip replacement, now you're capable. If things were worse, right? Like if you were in even more pain, but you just didn't know what to do with yourself, and you're like, I'm just going to deal with the pain and compete, and for the sake of just competing because that's all you knew. That would be one thing. That's when you'd have to have some friends come in and say, hey, Jose, like it's, like you retired for a reason, stick to that reason. But you're training better than ever. Certainly you're able to do a lot more now than you were the last year of your competitive career.
Right. So that means that makes all the difference in the world. And it's not like I completely stopped exercising and lost all this muscle. I might have lost a little bit, but I think I really cleaned out my system for over a year and a half.
Yeah.
Where I was just a normal person. And even then I never got below 210. I didn't get below 210 until just recently when I was doing a bunch of cardio.
Well, you were telling me too, just your metabolism right now is you're doing what? No cardio. You're eating junk food at night to keep your weight up, and you're peeled.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a different thing. We could touch on a later date, but my lifestyle has changed dramatically in the last year. So I'm in very good condition with low body fat, without any supplements to get leaner, no fat burners of any kind, no cardio, and I'm still having Ben and Jerry's and Toll House cookies at night, just to get my calories up so I'm not dropping weight. Sounds like a lazy man's excuse, but you can only eat so many meals with 2 cups of rice a day,
Right.
So that's where that
one thing we have to touch on too is, when you finally decide to stop competing, we now know you've got a backup career as a hand model.
Yes.
You want to talk about that recent discovery?
Oh, yes. There was there's some website, I don't know what it's called. It's called like masculinehands.com or something, that I was I'm featured on tremendously, and Nate was actually in one of the pictures.
But only to just by comparison to show how big your hands are.
Yeah.
And apparently how small my hands are compared to yours.
Next to yours.
Yeah.
I could be a hand model. Look at that shit. That's beautiful. It looked like a batch of bananas. There was me and Flex Lewis on there, and it's a riot. I didn't know such a thing existed, but there's like hand fetishes out there. And I'm featured. I'm honored to be featured on there. Hopefully I can make some money from it.
Right, there you go. You have an OnlyFans, but just of your hands. Only hands.
Only hands.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right, let's get to so a couple things we didn't talk about last time. Flex Lewis relocates from Florida, from the Boca area to Vegas, shuts down the Dragon's Lair, right, that was in Boca where he trained forever, and opens up Dragon's Lair to the public in Vegas that's now open. Grand opening party was like the 24th of March or something, in about a week and a half.
27th.
Okay. But it's officially open, but they're doing the grand opening where everyone's going to be out there. So as I was telling you earlier, until they started featuring Flex's gym on, say, like Jay Cutler's channel and a few other things, I had no idea this was going on, that this whole move was going on. So talk about that. Of what, do you know when Flex actually moved to Vegas? Has he been there for like 4 months, 6 months, like a while, or is this a very recent move and then the gym just plopped up from there?
No, it's recent. I mean, he may have been there for the last 4 months, but he visited prior to that. It's something that had been in the works for a while. Flex is a mover and a shaker. He is a businessman to the core. Every bit as good of a physique as he has, he's an even better businessman. So that says a lot. So I think he was feeling maybe stagnant down in Florida, limited. I know the gym that he had, it wasn't like permitted to be open to the public. So he was limited as to how successful that gym could be business wise. And, every decision he makes is a wise business decision. And I don't think that gym was any longer a wise business decision for him. So I think he went out, visited, he has some business partners that they were throwing the idea around. And from what he said, it, essentially came down to his wife. She was really behind it and excited about it. And once she was on board, it was a no-brainer for him. And and they're out there and they are killing it. They are going to absolutely change the game out there. And because one, he knows how to set up a place. He knows the equipment. And he's got the best of the best on his side, as far as the meat axe guy from Australia come over and doing murals for him. And it's going to be an amazing place, great location. If you want to go and visit and just train there, there's an older hotel right across the street, walking distance. So people can go out there and get a reasonable hotel right across the street and train there. That's very exciting. I'm planning on being there. I know a lot of other people are going to be there as well. I'm pumped for him. It's because for many years he was sinking a lot of money into his place to basically have his own place to train. Where I know Flex, he loves people, loves his fans, but it's very hard for him to go anywhere and get a workout in, and not get agitated when people are constantly coming up to him. So he needed his own space.
We know what he's going to do in Vegas now. Obviously he's not done with his career. He still has the ambitions to come back next year's Mr. Olympia. Are they shutting the gym down for an hour so Flex can train, or how's he going to do that?
And Flex will probably do what Jay had to do back when he was training, which was go in at 11 o'clock at night or midnight or something, when the gym is closed. And if I don't know if it's going to be 24 hours, I doubt it, but he'll probably have to go in an off hour when nobody's there. Or, knowing him, he might close the gym from 12 to 2.
Right.
Who knows,
Right.
That's something he'll have to gauge to see if he can do it, because now it's a business. He has to be there. He has to be the face of the place. So I don't know that he can hide out too much.
Right.
I don't know that
That's
he's
the
going
draw,
to
right? Like, if for me as a nobody fan, if I'm going to make the trip to fly out there and like I'm going to Vegas for a weekend and I got to hit Flex's gym, the hope is to see Flex,
Right.
maybe meet him and get a pic. Like, that's a big part of the draw to go there is, to buy some day passes and go work out.
Yeah. We got to have a calf pose down with you and him. His calves are pretty crazy.
Oh, for sure. Calves, forearms, everything's crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so I think also I haven't watched the episode, but I saw on Jay Cutler's channel, it looks like Sean Roden and Laura Lee are moving to Vegas too, right?
Yeah, I just heard that as well.
So that's interesting. Like, obviously Jay set the precedent years ago, making the move from California to Vegas during the real estate bubble that was going on. It'll be interesting to see if others kind of follow the lead. Nowadays with social media and magazines basically being dead, you don't have to be in one area, but it still seems like for the best of the best, you want to be around great guys to train for the motivation, like what Flex had in Dragon's Lair with De La Rosa going there, and Kamal and everyone else that came through, right? Mm-hmm. Creating an environment where what Gold's Venice used to be back in the day, the iron sharpens iron type of thing. You don't really have that anywhere. Flex had it, but that's not open to the public.
He's got it again. He's got Raphael's out
Yeah.
there, and Hassan is out there.
Yep.
So there's, wherever Flex goes, there's going to be some energy there. And,
Yeah.
you know, such a loving, genuine, giving, generous person that anyone that he meets that needs something, he'll be like, come on out, you know, and he'll help them, and he'll find a way, especially if they're on the brink of becoming something and they need that push. He'll make sure it happens for them. So yeah, that is going to be the Mecca. That'll be the place where if you want to see a gang of gorillas training, that'll be the place to be.
Right.
You know, I'm
There's not too
fired
many
up.
spots. You have, Bev's, right? There's a few guys there, Juan and George, but there's not too many spots where you can be like, this is the place you have to go to, like how it used to be back in the day,
Right.
with Gold's Venice or so. I'm excited. That's really, really cool. We don't have a lot to be too excited about in the bodybuilding gym world nowadays, right? They're dying off, and the ones that are going are like the Bevs, or they're kind of ancient. They're great for what they are, but to have a place open up like Flex is doing with brand new state-of-the-art equipment, clean, kind of like what we have in Impact Fitness near us, like a nice new clean gym with awesome equipment that's built for bodybuilders.
Right. Yeah, and he'll have it set up with, there'll be a social media area to take your pictures, and it'll be as modern as you can imagine. So that is really exciting. It'll be a destination for people for sure. And I'm so excited for him. He's going to absolutely kill it, no doubt.
All right, so on to a couple other questions. So someone had asked in one of my Instagram posts a while back, biggest red flags you see with coaches. Now, I guess this could be two things, right? This could be, you're a coach, you've had to take over or take on athletes who have certainly had coaches before you. So what's the dumb shit that you see them doing with other coaches, or things that were wrong? Or I guess it could also be, stuff you hear in the industry, from other coaches. But let's start with like people that you've had to take on, maybe that have worked with other coaches. What are some common things that you see that you got to change right away?
Oftentimes people are on a boatload of stuff already, and then you see them train, and they train like a bikini girl, yet they're on 2,500 megs of test and 1,000 megs of tren, and you're like, well, why bother? You're not even training. Those are problems I run into. As far as a red flag, any coach that uses this crazy terminology, overly, using scientific terminology with you at all times and trying to confuse you. So it's almost as if they're trying to confuse you to the point where you need them, that you can't go on without them because it's too confusing. They've made it way too complicated. And, that's why I love Chris. Chris and I, Chris speaks with like a flint stone and a chisel. Like it's amazing how simple he can make things, and it's way more easy to understand. And I think bodybuilding really does come down to simplicity. If you have to talk about the break things down to the atom, and people don't need to know that. You should know a certain amount before you even hire a coach, where it makes sense that you guys can talk. But those are the two things. The complication, keep it simple. And if you're on boatloads of drugs and supplements, I just don't agree with all that. And a lot of the coaches are affiliated with different supplement companies, so they're like, I'll send you a list of supplements that you should take, and it's all that company's supplements, trying to get every penny out of you that they can. Where I'm like, I never even recommend a BCA or any of that stuff, because I don't know, I'm not affiliated with anyone. I don't know the best
the
quality.
foundation, right? Like it might help, but 5%, 10%. You know, what's going to help a lot more is them upping their training intensity significantly. I think part of it is, you know, we both have online clients that we work with. And so I've got a bunch now. I've got a few that are getting ready for shows. I've got lifestyle people that, you know, we're down 20 pounds and we're trying to get that next 10 pounds off. And I think there's a laziness because you certainly can drug your way to results, right?
Sure.
Like if somebody needs to lose fat, you can say up your T3, up your clen, and their weight will drop to some extent, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's trying to gain weight and you put them on more drugs, their weight goes up, you know, but only so far. And there's a lot of long-term consequences for those short-term gains. And it's kind of a lazy coach thing, right? Because a coach can say, do this, and there's going to be changes, and the client's going to see good results, which will lead to them posting about it and getting you more clients. What's way harder is to explain to somebody, especially remotely when you don't get to train them in person, is proper exercise execution. You know, how are they training their back the right way when they train back? They might be deadlifting 400 pounds, but if you have no back to show for it, you know, something's wrong. Or explaining to them, you know, like I've mentioned before, I thought I trained intense before I started working out with you. I didn't know there were levels above what I thought intense was.
Yeah.
You know, and those levels, when you first do it the first few times, scare the crap out of you because you're like, I'm scared of this. I could get hurt by this weight, or you're telling me to do 5 more and I have 0 reps left, right? And until you go there, you don't know that you can go there. And it's really hard as an online coach to articulate that, you know, or have some checks and balances of saying, film your hard set for me. You know, I want to see how hard you're, and I've started doing that with clients, and I'll watch their hard set. And I'm like, they had 5 more reps there.
Right.
It was starting to get hard. That one rep where it slowed down a little bit, it wasn't easy up and down squats, and they quit on that, you know? So you don't have to do any of that when you're just pushing more drugs to people.
Right. You know, one of the perfect examples is, and I like both of these guys. So is the guy, Tony Hughes and Boston Lloyd, 2 admitted heavy drug users, experimenters. I don't know that Boston actually prescribes a lot of drugs to his clients, the people that he helps, but I know that he used a ton and experimented a lot. Neither of which have gone pro or have pro level physiques. You know, they're big guys, they look good, but it didn't make them a pro bodybuilder. It didn't make them otherworldly. It just made them a bigger version of what they were. So, and I don't know that either one of them, I think Boston says he trains like a wuss. I think he says he's not a hard trainer. So that's a great example of it, that if the answer was more drugs, then a lot more people would be pros, would be a lot better. And, you know, if you met Tony in person, he's a tall, big guy, you know, probably 230 or something, in good shape, but he's not a pro bodybuilder. He doesn't have big slabs of muscle on him. So that's never the answer. It just isn't. I know people are I get trolls every day. People make up fake Instagram accounts just to write stupid comments on my page.
Yeah.
And it's comical to me, you know, because I've lived it. I know the difference. I know the difference between training naturally and training enhanced. And I've seen the difference between natural competitors and non-natural. I've seen guys go from natural to not natural. And I know what it does. And I know what it takes. I've never seen a shitty bodybuilder win a pro show just because of drugs.
Right.
Never.
And you see, there's a lot of guys, I know Fuad's one of them. A lot of these pros had points where they said, you know, I was placing outside of the top 5 or in the top 5, but maybe not winning shows. And I thought more drugs was the answer. So I took a lot more, you know, I doubled what I was taking. And then all of them say, I regret that. Like my midsection grew. I started having blood work issues, kidney issues.
Yeah.
And very quickly realized that that wasn't the difference, right? Because I'm sure it floats around, you know, rumors of, oh, I heard the people in Kuwait are doing this, or Matt Jansen is doing this crazy thing, right? Who knows if they're true or not? Yeah. But there's got to be some level as a top competitor where, you know, these guys in Kuwait are start winning shows, and you go like, man, is that the difference? Or Matt Jansen's people are winning, and you go, is that the difference? You know, but common sense guys that have lived there and like a Fuad have said, I pushed it and it ruined my physique, you know, using insulin, doubling the doses, all of this stuff. And I wish I hadn't, because I looked better at that lighter weight. You know, I tried to go too big and too fast. And it seems like most of the guys end up coming back to that kind of aceto thing of use the least amount possible.
Right. You use only what you need. That's it. If you look at the Kuwait situation and the Matt Jansen situation, there's a common theme there. The people that go to Kuwait, they leave their home, they leave their environment to go live there. And they just eat, sleep, and breathe bodybuilding 24 hours a day. Now, Matt creates that thought process with his clients. Like, if he could, he'd live with Nick Walker. He'd live with him 24 hours a day to make sure that he's overseeing every last aspect of what he's doing. And he takes such an interest in their life with Sean Clarita. You know, he spends so much time with them, you know, whether it be leading up to a show, the weekend of the show, you know, he is fully entrenched with their life, that it changes their mindset and in the way that they go about it. So, you know, kudos to Matt. It's not all about drugs. You know, I don't even know what Matt does. I've heard the rumors too, but they're just that, rumors. I don't know what the hell these people are doing, but I do know that he takes a very, very hands-on approach with these people. And that is what makes the biggest difference. You know, they all consider him a brother. You know, all the ones who've had huge success with him, you know, consider him like blood. And that's why. That's why they're having success. It's not because they take more than this guy.
Right. Like you said, if that was the case, you'd see a lot of guys turning pro. A lot of there'd just be way more pros and people going 0 to 100 really quick if that was the missing component.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you learn from the veterans of it's the nutrition and the training and just trying to find ways to train harder and harder to get to whatever your max, whatever your limit is in terms of the muscle you can actually carry.
Right.
That's the difference. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Only one more. We've touched upon this in the past, but it was mistakes you see people make when they're in a prep.
Oh, where do you start?
I know. I think one I'll throw, and I've seen people you've worked with, and I've seen people I've worked with where they get way too focused on the scale, on either a big guy being really scared about a big drop, you know, the guy that's 280 all of a sudden being 268, doesn't know what to do with himself, or the what do you think I'm going to weigh on stage, and just being way too focused of what the scale is, either where they're at or where they're going to be show day.
Yeah, well, you and I have experienced this because we'd have to make that decision because you were a tweener, you know, you were between light, heavy, and heavy. And I just kept saying to you, dude, we'll decide that the day of the show. We'll decide whatever you are at your best, that's what we'll do. If you're 204, that's where you're going to be. We're not sucking off 6 more pounds to make you a flat light heavyweight,
right? When
you can be bottom of the heavies, but be bubbly and round. And that's exactly what we did this last show, and you were at your best. So sometimes when you focus on the number, you screw yourself because you end up, you know, either sucking down and being too flat, or holding on to way too much weight and not being in shape. So that's a huge one. The biggest mistake is getting too out of shape to begin with. In the off season, they think these numbers, yeah, I'm 300 pounds. For many years, that was the goal of pro bodybuilding. It's got to be 300 pounds. And you had Lee Priest, that's my height, who was 285. And he'd end up competing at 205. It's, he was able to do it and not have any, skin issues, but most people can't. You got to lose 70 pounds or 80 pounds, you're in big trouble. That's not going to work. So getting too fat in the off season is a huge one. Not dieting long enough, even if you're in decent shape and they're like, oh, I'm going to do a 10-week, 12-week prep. I would rather see you do 16 to 20 weeks just to ease into it so you can grow through the prep and take it off slowly. And you'll hold on to more muscle that way. If you do a shorter prep, the likelihood of you burning off muscle is a lot higher.
We've seen that, right, with local competitors that pick a show they probably have no business doing in terms of a timeline, right? Like somebody got way too fat in the off season, and then they're like, I'm doing the Cutler end of April. And you look at, and they have to lose 40 pounds in a prep, and it ends up being 2 to 3 hours of cardio a day for the last month and 0 carb days, 4 days in a row before they get, 100 grams of carbs to load up. And it's like, dude, just pick a show a month later, or 2 months later or whatever, why are you killing yourself for this one date when there's plenty of shows, even if you got to go the next state over?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, my mom can make it to this one. Well, your mom's going to see your fat ass on stage.
Right.
Another thing is, it sounds corny, but having realistic expectations when you're competing. If you are better than you were, then it's a win. Because I always hear that. I want to win. I want to win this. I want to win my pro card. And I'm like, well, everyone wants to win the pro, everyone wants to win, but keep in mind that you got to set like baby steps. If you have never competed before, you're likely not going to win the New Englands out of the gate, but you can be better as long as you're way better than you started, and you set now you have a goal to beat the next time. Try to be better than that. And it's hard to instill that in someone because they just want to win, but you have to start somewhere. Not everyone wins out of the gate. That's, it's a
hard because
thing.
People tend to use that for motivation. I'm dealing with it now with people that are prepping for shows of maybe that's not, I have to win, but it's, I have to place top 5, right? But it's their first show. And as with some of these shows, you just don't know who's showing up. This could be a year for these local regional shows where all the freaks come out of the gate because they got to requalify for nationals because they didn't compete in the last year or two. And so they could go into this show and there's 3 or 4 guys that are just trying to requalify to go back to do a national event, and get no shot at that. But I see a lot of people, I've had that conversation with clients where it's certainly a fuel for them. It's like when you grow up playing sports, right? We got to train hard to beat the team at the game on Saturday. And so there's that it carries over, right? Because it's a contest and your energy's low and it sucks and you don't want to get up and do your cardio and train. So you tell yourself that I got to do this so I can win. But I agree with you because it's the last thing you want is somebody coming in looking their absolute best for where they're at that point.
And then being disappointed.
Yeah, 6th or 7th place, looking amazing. And having a breakdown afterwards because they didn't make top 5 or they didn't win the show.
Right. Well, that's part of being a good coach is instilling that in them from the get-go. I don't know where you're going to place, but you look awesome from where you started. And you got to constantly reassure them, keep that in their head that, this is a win. This you're heading in the right direction. And, next time you'll do better and better after that. But we're starting somewhere.
Have you seen a change with the young kids of, I got to turn pro? Like a kid came up to me in Impact Fitness a month or so ago, and was like, man, what do you do for your arms, for triceps? And I haven't competed yet, but my goal is to do a local show this year, win that, go on to nationals and get my pro card, right? Like bam, 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 right? And to you, that's certainly crazy. To me, it's pretty crazy, right? I know a few people that have done it, but have you found that someone saying that, especially young kids, right? I got to get my pro card. I'm going to go compete next year and I'm going to turn pro. Have you found that's more common nowadays in the gym, or was it like that 20 years ago as well? Were people sort of delusional in that way?
Well, there was always the delusional meathead back in the day, but no, there's so many pro cards today that people think it's easy to do. So they're like, oh, yeah, I know a guy in my gym has a pro card. He don't even look like he works out. So the word pro card is so popular. 25 years ago, people didn't know what a pro card is. Like, you'd be in your local gym, a pro card. What do you mean a pro card? You get a card that says you're a pro? Do you pay for that? Yeah, well, you would know 25 years ago if someone was a pro, because they look like Paul DeMeo.
Right. Total freak, yeah.
There's only one of them.
Right.
There was a couple cronies that looked really good around them, but then you would see that mammoth guy that you were like, oh, he's a pro. I don't know what the division is or what organization, but he's a pro something. Today it's hard to tell because there's so many divisions, so many classes.
Right. People can turn pro, bantamweight, masters, men's physique, masters, men's physique. Any combination of those.
Right. So yeah, obviously it was not thrown around back in the day like it is today. And, it's not even these people's fault, because they hear it every day from their buddies. My buddy wants a pro card. I'll get a pro card. Everyone gets a pro card. It's like going on Oprah. Everyone gets one. It's not as what's the word? Exciting nowadays, or prestigious. It's not as prestigious as it once was.
But the thing I'll add to that, at least because I'm going for it, and you've seen me fighting for it, is it's certainly nowhere near as hard as it was when you were coming up, right? Where how many pro cards did they give out a year? Like in US, was it like 3 or 4 to men's bodybuilding?
Well, nationals, there was 7 weight classes.
Okay, so you got one
every weight class.
Okay.
And then the overall at the USA's, so that's 8.
Yep.
And then the overall at North Americans, that was 9. And then they would give the overall at the universe. So that was 10.
Okay.
10 pro cards.
A year, right. For everybody in the country. Right? And now that's easily in a show. They're doing top 2 at nationals. So just in bodybuilding at nationals, you have more, right? So, but what right, in that one show. But what I will say is, part of one thing that I hate as being the guy that's busting my ass, trying to get it and getting closer and closer, is the guys talking about it. Certainly it's way easier now than it was, but the guys talk about it like anybody that wants to go for it is just going to get a pro card. They're just giving them out, right? You enter a couple shows, you're a pro card. Like certainly we know like WBFF pros, so these other organizations, right? Yeah. Where you're like, that's a pro, someone does one show and turns pro at their first show, right? These other organizations, but it is fucking still really hard to get your pro card, right? I know, because I missed it by one spot at the USA's. So there's still a level of, the old guys are talking about how they're handing pro cards out like Tic Tacs. Mm-hmm. And then, so you got these young kids hearing that, but until you actually go for it, it's still really hard. You still have to be really good.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, in your division in particular, bodybuilding is still the hardest to get a pro card. I don't care what you say, because you have to have size. It takes many, many years to build that type of size.
Yeah.
So, men's physique, it doesn't take 10 years, 15, 20 years to build that type of muscle. You know, you get a high school basketball player who's trained once in a while and he's just peeled. He likely could do well in men's physique, not in bodybuilding. So you're in a division and you're still young. So that like 35 and over is very difficult to get a pro card in. It'll get that much easier in over 40.
Yep.
And then even that much easier over 45. You hit over 50 and it's, you know, a little easier the older you get. But no, there's nothing easy about bodybuilding. It's you're still fighting it, man. And when you get one, you will have deserved it. You will earned it.
Yeah,
You'll
right.
have the respect of your peers for having done so. You know, and people will know about it.
And there's local guys, right, that are far better than me, but like a Nate Spear, these guys have been busting their ass. It took Nick Walker several tries before he turned pro. Man, poor Nate every year, is missing it by a spot. And Nate's a really good bodybuilder, right? Nate's going to come into any regional show at New England's a Cutler and sweep the overall.
Yeah.
But look at where he's at. There's some great guys out there that are, when I was at USA's, that open division, those top 2, top 3 guys were really, really good.
Oh yeah.
And so, there might not be 10 guys in each division that are monsters, but you still get those top 2 or 3, which is what Nate Spears kind of fighting in, where they're really good, and somebody's getting the short end of the stick that, probably should turn pro, but it's not their day based on who showed up.
Yeah. Nate's in a tough spot because he is excellent. Very, very good. But, every once in a while you get freaks like Nick Walker. You just, fuck. Hey, what do? You wave, shake his hand and say, all right, next year.
Right.
And that's what happened. Nate will get it because Nate is a workhorse and he's constantly improving. That's the key. And that's a good, valuable lesson for people to learn is that as good as he is, he's been second, he's been, top 3 many times. He's still not satisfied. He brings a different package each time. He's making consistent improvements and he will win. He will win. He'll get his pro card. And, it's a perfect example of what you got to do. You got to keep pushing, keep plugging away.
Yep. There's just that level of, there's the totem pole that is still very real today that you have to climb, right? Like, if someone comes to you and I and says, I want to do my first show, we're probably not throwing them in New England's or Jay Cutler or the big regional show, right? We're finding the smaller show where they've got a chance. They're with other first-time competitors, and see how they do there, and if they do very well there, then you find the bigger local show where they're up against more talent, and then you might have a guy that places second. And I know you've coached people like this. Maybe they win their show, they win the smaller show you put them in, which technically qualifies them to go on to a national show, right? Yeah. So they won, classic physique, short class at whatever show, the Vermont show, they're qualified, but you have to explain to that person, it's a big leap from that small town show, even though you're qualified for nationals. And I see you doing this. I see Justin Randall doing this with his competitors, of tempering the expectations and understanding that totem pole of, this is step 1, small local show. Step 2, bigger show, step 3, maybe even bigger or biggest show in your area. For in Boston, it could be a New England's or Cutler. It could be going down to New York and doing Atlantic States or something, and then you go against the national guys. I see too many people qualify at a local show and get crushed at nationals, and there's you just see, I see a lot of them give up after that.
Oh yeah.
Because they have this boost of confidence. I found something I'm good at. I won a show, and then they're 16th place at a national show.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit in every division. They think that they think they're ready, and and that's part of being a coach as well, is to back them down. Be like, let's work on some things first. I always bring up the money. I'm like, you're going to spend thousands of dollars on preparing, flying, hotels, missing work to place. Even if you're 10th, is that worth it? No, you want a shot. You want a shot at winning. They're like, oh, I just want the experience. I'm like, well, give me the $5,000 and I'll tell you all about it.
Right.
You know? Crazy. All right, I think we're good for today.
Yeah, sounds good, Jose.
Hey, and guess what? We have that arm workout too.
Yes, that'll be up in the next. So I'll probably put this up first, and
All
then
right.
the very next day, the arm workout will go up that we did.
All right, awesome. Perfect, buddy.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you soon.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.